My name is Emily Carter, and this is the story I've kept hidden for 7 years. The night my daughter collapsed on stage, all I could do was hold her fragile body and pray she kept breathing. But when the ER doors swung open, the man who rushed in to save her was the very same one who once walked away from me. And when his eyes locked on hers, eyes identical to his own, he whispered, "My God, she's mine." In that moment, my world shattered. Before I share the rest of my story, tell me where you're watching from in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you've ever faced a moment that turned your whole life upside down. Trust me, you'll want to hear what happens next. The music stopped mid-note. One moment, my Lily was standing on that little wooden stage, her voice pure as morning light singing Twinkle, Twinkle. The next, she crumpled like a paper doll, her white dress pooling around her small body. I don't remember running. I don't remember screaming. I only remember the weight of her in my arms, too light, always too light, and the terrible stillness of her chest. 6 years I'd carried this secret. 6 years of doctor visits paid in cash, of lies about why her father wasn't around, of watching her sleep and counting each precious breath. The heart murmur they'd found when she was 2 had grown into something darker, something that stalked us through playground games and bedtime stories. "Ma'am, we need to get her to Dallas Children's immediately." The paramedic's hands were gentle but firm as he tried to take her from me. I couldn't let go. Wouldn't. The ambulance ride blurred past in a haze of sirens and medical terms I'd memorized but never wanted to hear. Cardiac arrhythmia, decreased oxygen saturation, possible structural abnormality. Each word a stone in my chest. Dallas Children's Hospital loomed before us, all glass and steel and promises I couldn't afford to believe. They wheeled her away from me at the emergency entrance, and I followed like a ghost, my sneakers squeaking against the polished floors. "We need the pediatric cardiac surgeon," someone called out. "Page Dr. Hayes immediately." The world tilted. Hayes? No, not here, not now. But the universe has a cruel sense of timing, because the doors swung open and there he was. 7 years older, wearing scrubs instead of the Yankees cap he'd loved, but unmistakably Daniel. His hair was shorter now, touched with early silver at the temples. The laugh lines I used to trace with my fingertips had deepened into something more serious. He moved with the same confident grace that had once made me believe in forever, issuing orders with an authority that made nurses jump. Then his eyes found mine across the chaos, and for one heartbeat we were 22 again, planning a future that would never come. Recognition flickered, then confusion, then something I couldn't name. But he was already turning to Lily, professional mask sliding into place. His hands, those hands that had once held my face like I was precious, now moved over my daughter's chest, checking, assessing. "How long has she had the murmur?" His voice was all business, but I caught the slight tremor underneath. "Since she was 2, my own voice came out strangled." He glanced up sharply, started to speak, then his gaze caught on Lily's face, really looked, and I saw the exact moment the ground shifted under his feet, the way his hands stilled, the quick intake of breath, the dart of his eyes from her face to mine and back again. "We need to run tests immediately." Daniel's voice had gone carefully neutral, but his knuckles were white as he gripped Lily's chart. Has she experienced syncope before? Syncope. Fainting. Such a clinical word for the way my world stopped each time she fell. 3 times this year. I forced myself to meet his eyes. But never this bad. A young doctor appeared at Daniel's shoulder, beautiful in that polished way that made me acutely aware of my faded jeans and the coffee stain on my shirt. "Dr. Hayes, should I prep or 3? "Not yet, Rebecca." He didn't look away from Lily. "We need the echo first, full cardiac workup." Rebecca's gaze slid between us, sharp and calculating. I recognized that look. Possession, suspicion, the same combination I'd seen in Eleanor Hayes's eyes 7 years ago. They wheeled Lily away for tests, and I was left in a waiting room that smelled like fear and industrial disinfectant. Daniel disappeared with her, and I was grateful. I needed time to think, to prepare, to build back the walls that had crumbled the moment I'd heard his name. But he found me an hour later, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Black, no sugar," he said quietly, offering one. Unless that's changed. Nothing about me had stayed the same since him, but I took it anyway. My hands shook. "She's stable," he said before I could ask. "But Emily?" He sat beside me, careful not to touch. "Her condition is more serious than you've been told. She needs surgery." "I know," the words scraped out. "I've known for a year, but the specialist in Tyler said she needed to be bigger, stronger, said to wait." The specialist in Tyler was wrong. His jaw tightened. "She needs intervention now, within days." I stared at my coffee, watching the cream I hadn't added swirl into patterns that looked like the future unraveling. "Emily. Softer now. Is she?" He stopped, started again. "Her birthday. When is her birthday?" The coffee cup crumpled in my hands, hot liquid spilling over my fingers. I couldn't answer. Couldn't lie to those eyes that had once seen through every wall I'd built. "March 15th, I whispered. I watched him do the math, watched the color drain from his face. 7 years melted away, and we were back in his apartment, me holding a pregnancy test with shaking hands while his mother's voice echoed from the answering machine. "I've withdrawn the tuition payment, Daniel. That girl is your past, your future is here." My God, he breathed the words like a prayer or a curse. "She's mine." Before I could respond, his phone buzzed. Rebecca's face filled the screen, a photo where she was pressed against his shoulder, smiling like she owned him. "We need to talk," he said, declining the call. "But first, I'm going to save our daughter." Our daughter. The words I'd never thought I'd hear hung between us like a bridge across 7 years of silence. The test results spread across Daniel's desk like accusations. He'd commanded a small office, away from prying eyes, and now sat across from me with Lily's medical history between us. 6 years of struggles laid bare in black and white. Tetralogy of Fallot with pulmonary stenosis. His finger traced the diagnosis. Every doctor who's seen her recommended surgery. Why did you wait? Money. The truth tasted bitter. "Do you know what cardiac surgery costs without insurance? I've been saving, working 2 jobs, but it's never enough." His face went through a series of expressions: anger, hurt, something that might have been shame. "I would have, if I'd known." "Would you?" The question shot out before I could stop it. "Or would Eleanor have buried us both?" His phone buzzed again. This time he answered, his voice clipped. "Not now, Rebecca. I'm with a patient." I caught her response, shrill through the speaker. "A patient? That woman isn't—" He hung up. "I need to call my mother," I said. "She's watching the neighbor's kids, but she'll want to know." "Your mother?" His eyes softened. "How is Anna?" "Dead." I watched him flinch. "Cancer. 4 years ago, right after Lily's diagnosis." Another stone in the wall between us. Another thing he'd missed. "Emily, I'm sorry. I didn't—" He stopped, ran a hand through his hair. "There's so much I don't know. Whose fault is that?" But the anger was hollow now, worn thin by years of carrying it. A knock interrupted us. The door opened without invitation, and my nightmare walked in wearing Chanel and 7 years of aged malice. Eleanor Hayes looked exactly the same. Platinum hair sculpted to perfection, diamonds catching the fluorescent lights, mouth carved into the same dismissive line I remembered. "Daniel," Rebecca called. "She's concerned about—" Eleanor's gaze found me and sharpened to a blade. "You, Mother." Daniel stood, positioning himself between us. "This isn't the time." "On the contrary." She stepped around him, eyes raking over me like she was cataloging my failures. "Miss Carter, still causing problems, I see." "Mrs. Hayes." I didn't stand, couldn't. "My daughter is sick." "Your daughter—" She smiled, cold as February. "Yes, I've been informed of your claim." "It's not a claim," Daniel said quietly. "Lily is mine. The blood type match alone. Blood types can be coincidental." Eleanor's voice cut like glass. "We'll need proper testing, of course. Chain of custody, legal verification." I watched Daniel's face change, watched him see his mother clearly for maybe the first time. "She's 6 years old," he said slowly. "She's lying in a hospital bed with a heart that could stop at any moment. And you're worried about paperwork?" "I'm worried about protecting this family." Eleanor's mask slipped, showing something ugly underneath, just as I did 7 years ago. The admission hung in the air like a confession. Daniel went very still. "What did you do?" Eleanor straightened her pearls, a tell I remembered from the handful of family dinners I'd endured. I protected your future. That girl would have ruined everything we'd built. That girl has a name. My voice surprised me, steady when everything inside was shaking. And she's been raising your granddaughter alone while you played God with our lives. Granddaughter? Eleanor laughed, brittle as old bones. We'll see about that. She swept out, leaving cologne and cruelty in her wake. Daniel sank into his chair, suddenly looking older than his 36 years. I didn't know, he said quietly. About what she did? I thought you left because… He stopped. It doesn't matter what I thought. I left because she paid me to. The words I'd never said aloud fell between us like stones. $30,000 and a promise to destroy my scholarship if I didn't disappear. I was 22 and pregnant and terrified, and she knew exactly which buttons to push. His hands clenched on the desk. She paid you? I never cashed the check. I pulled out my phone, showed him the photo I'd kept all these years. That damned check, Eleanor's precise handwriting spelling out my worth. But I kept it to remind myself that some people's love comes with a price tag. Emily, I need to see Lily. I stood, exhaustion making me sway. Whatever else we need to discuss can wait until after she's safe. He led me through corridors that blurred together, past nurses who watched us with curious eyes. Rebecca appeared twice more, each time deflected by Daniel with increasing irritation. Lily looked so small in the hospital bed, dwarfed by machines and wires. I took her hand, careful of the IV, and felt her fingers curl around mine, even in sleep. The surgery, I said without looking at him. When? Tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. He moved to the other side of her bed, and for a moment we stood like the family we'd never been. I'll do it myself. Is that allowed? Operating on your own? I couldn't say daughter, not yet. She needs the best, that's me. No arrogance in it, just fact. I've done over 300 of these repairs. I won't let anyone else touch her. A nurse appeared with paperwork, consent forms, risk acknowledgements, words like complications and mortality rate that made my hands shake as I signed. There's something else, the nurse said hesitantly. Dr. Hayes requested a genetic panel, priority processing, but the results… She frowned at her tablet. They're showing no biological relationship between Dr. Hayes and the patient. The world tilted again. Daniel grabbed the tablet, scanned the results. This is wrong. Run it again. We did. Twice. The nurse looked uncomfortable. I'm sorry, but the lab confirmed. The lab is wrong. His voice had gone dangerously quiet. I want the samples recollected. New technician, document every step. But I saw the doubt creeping in, saw him look at Lily with new eyes, and felt another piece of my heart break. You believe her? I stared at Daniel across Lily's bed, watching doubt poison his features. After everything, you believe I'm lying? I don't know what to believe. He held the tablet like it might change its mind. The science is wrong. But even as I said it, I felt the ground shifting. Who had handled those samples? Who had processed them? A soft knock interrupted. Maria, the night nurse who'd been kind to me, peered around the door. Mrs. Carter, could I speak with you? I followed her into the hallway, Daniel's suspicious gaze burning my back. Maria glanced around nervously. I shouldn't say anything, but… I was here when they collected the samples. Dr. Thornton, Rebecca, she insisted on handling them personally. Said it was high priority. My blood chilled. She's not a lab tech. No, but she has access. And she and Dr. Hayes? Maria trailed off meaningfully. Just be careful. That woman has plans, and you're in the way. She hurried off before I could ask more. I returned to find Daniel on his phone, voice low and angry. I don't care what the lab says. I want an independent facility. Chain of custody documentation. He saw me and ended the call. We'll get to the bottom of this. Will we? Exhaustion made me reckless. Or will you let them convince you I'm just another gold digger trying to trap the great Dr. Hayes? That's not… He stopped. I know you, Emily. You wouldn't lie about this. You knew me, past tense. I sank into the chair beside Lily's bed. Just like I knew the man who promised we'd face everything together. But that man let his mother run me out of town while he was in surgery, saving other people's children. I looked for you. The words came out raw. For months, your apartment was empty, your phone disconnected. Even your mother wouldn't tell me where you'd gone. Because Eleanor threatened to destroy her too. Bad credit mysteriously appearing. Mortgage problems. Amazing what money can do. I stroked Lily's hair, kneading the anchor. We ran to Texas and started over. New names on everything. Cash only. Like criminals, except our only crime was loving you. His phone buzzed. A message that made his face darken. What now? I asked. My mother. She's called a family meeting. Tomorrow, after the surgery. He showed me the text. With lawyers. Of course she had. Eleanor Hayes never met a problem she couldn't solve with litigation. She can't take her, I said, but fear made it a question. No court would. He stopped, looked at the falsified test results. We need real proof. And we need to know who's helping her. As if summoned, Rebecca appeared in the doorway, all concern and pressed scrubs. Daniel, I heard about the mix-up with the tests. How awful. Should I arrange for new ones? I watched her performance, saw Daniel's eyes narrow as he finally started to see the truth. That won't be necessary, he said carefully. I'll handle it personally. Her smile flickered, just for a second, but it was enough. Dawn came like judgment. I hadn't slept, hadn't left Lily's side except to sign more papers and drink coffee that tasted like liquid fear. Daniel had disappeared around 3 a.m. to prep for surgery, leaving me alone with my daughter and the weight of what came next. Mama? Lily's voice, whisper-thin, pulled me from my spiral. Hey, baby girl. I smoothed her hair, careful of the monitors. How do you feel? Scared. Her honesty broke me. At 6, she understood more than I'd wanted her to. Is the doctor nice? The nicest. Not a lie. Whatever else Daniel was, he'd been gentle with her. And he's the best heart doctor in Texas, maybe in the world. He looks like the picture. She yawned. The one in your jewelry box. My heart stopped. What picture, sweetheart? The man at the beach, with the pretty smile. Her eyes fluttered closed again. Is he my daddy? Before I could answer, before I could figure out how to answer, they came to take her. A parade of medical professionals in surgical caps and kind eyes. Daniel at the center like a general preparing for war. He stopped beside me. 4 hours, maybe less if everything goes smoothly. His hand covered mine, brief but warm. I'll take care of her, Em. I promise. Em. He hadn't called me that since the morning I'd left when he'd kissed me goodbye at his apartment door, neither of us knowing it was the last time. I know. And I did. Whatever else lay broken between us, I trusted him with her life. They wheeled her away, and I collapsed in the surgical waiting room. Other families clustered in corners, each carrying their own weight of worry. I envied them their ignorance of my particular grief. 2 hours in, Maria found me. There's someone here to see you, she said carefully. Says he's Dr. Hayes's father. Marcus Hayes stood in the hallway like a man approaching a gallows. Where Eleanor was sharp edges and cold perfection, he was softer, worn down by years of choosing peace over principle. Emily. He took my hands, surprising me. I'm sorry. For all of it. Mr. Hayes. Marcus, please. I need you to know that I didn't agree with what Eleanor did, but I was weak. I let her convince me it was for the best. He pulled out an envelope, hands shaking. This might help. Inside were photographs, Daniel and me at his graduation, my acceptance letter to Columbia's graduate program, the one that had mysteriously lost its funding, and a recording device. She kept records of everything, Marcus said quietly. Insurance, she called it. This is from the day she visited you. The threats, the bribe, all of it. Why now? My voice came out strangled. Because I'm tired of watching my son live half a life. Because that little girl deserves better than our family's poison. He squeezed my shoulder. And because some sins need confession. As he left, my phone buzzed. Daniel. She's doing beautifully. 2 more hours. I clutched the envelope and let myself hope. The conference room smelled like leather and old money. Eleanor sat at the head of the table like a queen holding court, flanked by 2 lawyers who looked like they ate smaller lawyers for breakfast. Rebecca perched to her right, tablet in hand, playing the perfect protégé. I sat alone on my side, still wearing yesterday's clothes, running on coffee and 2 hours of stolen sleep in the surgical waiting room. But Lily was alive, breathing on her own, her repaired heart beating steady and strong. Nothing else mattered. "Now then," Eleanor began, sliding a folder across the table. "Let's discuss terms." Daniel entered before I could respond, still in scrubs, exhaustion carved into every line of his face. He took the chair beside me without hesitation. "Mother, what is this?" "Protecting our interests." She didn't look at him. "Miss Carter has made certain claims. Our daughter nearly died yesterday." His voice could have frozen hell. "And your priority is paperwork? The DNA results," Rebecca started, "are fabricated." I placed Marcus's envelope on the table. "But you already knew that, didn't you, Rebecca? When you personally handled the samples? When you made sure the results showed what Eleanor wanted?" Rebecca's face went white. "I don't know what you're implying." "I'm not implying anything." I pulled out the recording device. "Would you like to hear Eleanor's greatest hits? The threats she made 7 years ago? Or should we skip to the part where she discusses bribing a lab tech last week?" Eleanor's mask finally cracked. "Where did you get that?" "Does it matter?" Daniel took the device, his face darkening as he listened. His mother's voice, crystal clear, detailing exactly how she'd destroyed our lives. "This proves nothing," Eleanor said, but her voice had lost its edge. "Ancient history." "No." Daniel stood slowly. "This proves everything. It proves you're so consumed with control that you'd falsify medical records. It proves you drove away the woman I loved and kept my daughter from me. It proves Rebecca is complicit in fraud that could cost her medical license." "Daniel, please." Rebecca reached for him. "You're done here." He didn't even look at her. "I'll be filing reports with the medical board and the police. I suggest you get a lawyer." She fled. Eleanor's lawyers exchanged nervous glances. "As for you," Daniel turned to his mother, "you're going to sign whatever documents Emily's lawyer prepares. You're going to stay away from our daughter. And if you ever try to interfere in our lives again, I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what Eleanor Hayes is beneath the pearls and charity galas. You wouldn't dare try me." He pulled out his phone, showed her a screen. "I've already sent copies of everything to Dad. He's with his lawyer now, discussing divorce terms. Turns out fraud and bribery are grounds for a forensic accounting of all family assets, including the foundation." Eleanor aged 10 years in 10 seconds. Without another word, she gathered her things and left, her lawyers scrambling after her. Daniel sank back into his chair. "I'm sorry. For all of it. For not seeing. For not protecting you. It's not your fault." "Yes, it is." He turned to me fully. "I should have fought harder, looked longer. I should have known you wouldn't just disappear." 6 months later, I stood in the same hospital, but everything had changed. Lily raced down the corridor, her sneakers squeaking on the polished floor, running because she could now, because her heart was strong and whole. She launched herself at Daniel, who caught her easily, spinning her around until she shrieked with laughter. "Daddy, look!" She showed him the picture she'd drawn in art therapy, a house with 3 stick figures standing in front, holding hands. "That's us. Us. Such a simple word for such a complicated journey." The custody papers had been signed within days of Eleanor's retreat. Daniel's name on Lily's birth certificate. Joint custody that we'd slowly shaped into something more like a family. Dinners that stretched longer. Bedtime stories with both of us perched on her bed. Mornings that found him at my kitchen table, teaching Lily to play chess while I made pancakes. "Nice picture, princess." He set her down gently. "Why don't you show Nurse Maria? I bet she'd love to see it." Lily scampered off, and we were alone in the corridor where everything had started. "The job offer?" he said quietly. "Have you decided?" Columbia had reinstated my acceptance, 7 years late but with full funding. A chance to finish what I'd started, to become the researcher I'd once dreamed of being. The catch? It meant New York. I don't know. I watched Lily charm the nurses, her laughter echoing off the walls. "It's not just my decision anymore." "No," he agreed. "It's ours. Ours." Another simple word that held universes. "I've been thinking," he continued. "Mount Sinai has been courting me. Cardiac surgery department head, better hours, and it's 20 minutes from Columbia." I turned to stare at him. "You'd leave Texas? Your practice?" "I'd leave anything for her." He paused. "For both of you." The words hung between us, weighted with possibility. We'd been dancing around this for months, the feelings that had never quite died, the family we were building on the ashes of what we'd lost. Daniel, I know we can't just pick up where we left off. He stepped closer, but maybe we could start somewhere new. Take it slow, see what happens when nobody's pulling the strings. My phone buzzed. Marcus, sending another photo of the house he was renovating in Austin, far from Eleanor's influence. He'd become an unexpected grandfather, spoiling Lily with books and puzzles and quiet affection. What about Rebecca? I asked. The investigation? Medical license suspended pending review. Eleanor's paying her legal fees to keep her quiet. His smile was grim. They deserve each other. Lily ran back, clutching a lollipop from the nurse's station. Mama, can we get ice cream? Daddy promised if I was good for my checkup. Did he now? I raised an eyebrow at Daniel, who shrugged unrepentantly. Mint chocolate chip, they said in unison, then grinned at each other. My heart, unlike my daughter's, had never needed surgical repair. But watching them together, I felt it healing all the same. We walked out of the hospital together, Lily between us, her hands in ours. Not the family we'd planned, but the one we'd fought for, the one we'd earned. That envelope had arrived 3 weeks ago. No return address, just photos from our college years and a note. The past has teeth, but the future has wings. I'd thrown it away. Whatever shadows lurked in Eleanor's past, whatever secrets she'd buried, they could stay buried. We had our own future to build.